The housing crisis, loss of community, high taxes, lack of business opportunities, dysfunctional social services, and a broken Canadian promise. These were just some of the reasons why Michael and his family left Canada for the United States a couple years ago. They've invested in an amazing athletes franchise and obtained an E2 visa. Now settled in the charming city of Naples, Florida, they've invited us into their home to share their journey. In this video, I spent a lovely day with them discussing why they left Canada for the US, why they chose the franchise route, and how their E2 visa application process went. For those short on time, I summarize everything and talk about how we can help you in the final minutes of the video, so feel free to skip right ahead. Now let's dive right in. Patrick Findaro here, co-founder of Visa Franchise. Normally on this channel, you'll find me in my boring studio back in Miami Beach. Today we're on site in Naples, Florida. Mike Berman, thanks so much for hosting us today and being willing to talk about your experience moving down south to Florida from Canada, and to talk about business, school life, personal life, things that a lot of Canadians as well as people all over the world are thinking about when they make this move and such a big decision for their families. So Mike, thanks for taking the time to connect.
Thank you. Michael Berman here, and welcome to beautiful Naples, Florida. It has turned into our paradise here as well very quickly. We moved here in 2021, invested in a franchise, brought our business from Ontario with us, and are very happy to be here.
And tell me, I mean, it's just been 3 years. Would you have liked to move even earlier to the United States? Are you happy you moved down to Florida when you did?
We didn't know how good it was here until we got here. So once we got here, we quickly realized this is the place we want to be for our future and for our kids.
How did you find out about the E2 visa, and why did you think it was a good path for you to move to the States from Canada?
So coming from Canada, you have a few options. The best option worked out to be the E2 visa. Very good option for us. It was a successful venture. It took a lot of planning. Being a business owner, it just fit in right to the puzzle. It lets you have your own path, your own programs, your control of everything, and works really quickly.
So E2 visa, no sponsor, you control your destiny, you invest the capital, you get the E2 visa, and it's not tied to some other company.
Pressure's on you to succeed.
What are some, I guess, the positive surprises about your experience here in Naples?
Community, the people. It's not as stereotypical as you hear back home in Canada. Everyone here is very friendly, very welcoming. The school system is fantastic. Our kids have been thriving and just really enjoying what it feels like to be here.
What I've heard repeatedly from our Canadian clients is like the Canada that my parents went to or I went to isn't the same one that is today. And what you described about Florida sounded like what was it Canada back in the day? Community, friendliness.
That's how it started. Just kind of everyone got a little bit too big city life and into themselves and what their projects were in their direction. And now, the community got lost and we had to come here to find a new community.
Do you feel there's like less pressure? I hear a lot about in Canada, housing costs, taxes. I just hear a lot of, I guess, day-to-day pressure when you're trying to raise a family.
Yeah, it definitely comes into it when the taxes are much higher on your salaries there than they are in Florida. State tax, we all know, is 0%. And we know DeSantis is going to keep it that way, and there's nothing really gray area about it. Kind of can plan your future that way instead of having to always wonder what's next.
If they're going to change the budget or get rid of this tax.
Yep, or what they're going to add taxes-wise, especially in Canada these days. There's definitely more and more taxes coming.
And how about just on the employee side? Is it easier to find quality talent here, retain talent than Ontario? What's it like running a business? Because we always hear about, I don't know how it is in the United States. How am I going to find people for my new company, my franchise?
Find very hungry candidates that are looking to build careers. They're not just wanting part-time positions. They want to be a part of the growth, the success, and help make a difference, not just be there for their hourly wages.
Okay.
So they're getting a lot more invested in what we're doing, and it's helping us grow a lot quicker.
So do you feel it's more of a vocation down here?
Location, just general attitude, way people have been brought up. School here starts at 6 a.m. and they're there at 6 a.m. training for their sports, whatever it is. Then they're in class. After school, they're back in their sports again, and then it's homework. There's no time for anything else. It's just hard work.
And yeah, I mean, I can definitely relate to it. Just sports were a huge part of my upbringing. Compared to Canada, what is like What's the school priorities? What's the classroom look like compared to your kid's school in Canada?
The whole experience, there's just generally higher expectations out of everybody. And if you're not succeeding, they're going to push you harder to succeed instead of letting you get lost in the shuffle. They're not going to just push you along if you're not ready. And it's just about making sure that everyone has their path to success. And it's nice to know that everyone is looked after and taken care of.
And tell me a little bit about why Florida. There's a lot of great states in the United States. At least I think there are. Why Florida as opposed to somewhere else?
Florida is a little bit comfortable for my family. We've been coming here since we were little kids, myself, same age as my kids. We've been going to the East Coast, and then eventually our family members had a place in the West Coast. We got a chance to visit the West Coast and just really like the option of having this environment, this healthy environment where the kids get to play outdoors 12 months of the year. They're not stuck inside because of the cold weather, and it really helps their mental approach to things. It helps their physical approach, and just their confidence levels skyrocket just having extra opportunities.
So yeah, they can just be active, and probably from a parent's perspective, you can just let your kids be free and kind of explore.
Yeah, and the community, they take care of each other, the kids here. It's just, you let them kind of what we used to see when we were kids. We'll go out, have fun, come back for dinner.
Okay, and you're not worried about safety or anything?
No, it's one of the safest places I've ever been. It was a kind of concern before we moved here that, Florida is a concealed carry state, guns everywhere. Aren't you worried about what's going to happen? But I've never felt more safe in the community being here. We had the opportunity to buy the franchise, amazing athletes, and they already had a lot of relationships built for us that we could use to get into schools and now have another avenue for our franchise to succeed and become an E2 opportunity for us.
Do you think the franchise helped you and your wife's E2 visa application?
Yeah, so it strengthened the application for us with the USCIS at the recommendation of the lawyers. They said you want to make sure you have this franchise to look at on top of your individual kind of business that you had set up, but have both there just to kind of push together and make your portfolio look much stronger.
I always get asked, what is the investment amount for the E2 visa? And I think it does depend if you're going to go consulate interview or USAS, but would you be comfortable saying more or less how much you had to invest before applying for the E2 visa?
Yeah, so along the way, there's definitely, take a look at the investment of your industry and how much the franchise costs and how much you're bringing from your own industry you're bringing in. You could start one for $100,000, and that would probably make good for what they're looking for, but the more you put into it, the better your portfolio looks and just gives you more room to adapt to anything that doesn't go as expected. So we ended up putting in about 150,000 Canadian, which about 110,000
It was more before,
US.
now it's unfortunately less.
Yeah.
And are you happy with the move?
Absolutely, yeah. I don't think we would want to go back at all.
Anything you would have done differently to make the move easier on you or your family?
Yeah, if we would have done our visa from our homeland status, had everything prepared back home, done our interview in our own consulate, then we'd have a little more freedom of movement and the 5-year visa. But in the situation we were in, this was the option and it worked out very well.
Besides that, when you think about moving homes, renting, buying, any of the logistics like health insurance, anything you kind of wish you would have thought about before or prioritized?
Yeah, a little more planning when it comes to housing. So when we got here, we were bouncing from Airbnb to Airbnb while we were figuring out what schools were best options for our kids, because it all happened really quickly for us. So, but once we got it all figured out, we're now have it rolling in a much better direction than just guessing what's next.
And then business opportunity, just from we were talking earlier, it seems like kind of the sky's the limit with just the unique capital structures in the United States, as well as just the flow of money in the United States. Could you comment a little bit some of the surprises as a successful Canadian entrepreneur down here now operating in the US environment?
Yeah, so now seeing your business kind of succeed in 2 different markets, you have opportunities to look into franchising the business and seeing where else you can get your program and to help, it's not just for yourself, to help other communities that are in need of these programs. Because right now the model they have is flawed, and it seems like we have something here that really works, and it could work not just in basketball and any other sport. So it's about figuring out how to best use this to help gain access for a lot more people.
And it seems like a nice, you've used the word community, but it seems like Amazing Athletes is a pretty nice community. Talking to Jared Taylor, some of the other franchisees, it seems like people really lean in to help. And the fact that the president was a franchisee, I'm sure adds credibility.
Yeah, they're always invested in what you're doing. They want to help you succeed. They're there for you all the time. And they've set up a really good business model. It's from a very successful business owner who did the work himself, got out there, got his clients, and reinvested and rediversified. It's the model you want to follow in any business. So I have access to it, and I plan on using it going forward.
Mike, I hear a lot from our Canadian clients about the business opportunities in the U.S. But I mean, it could mean different things for different people. What do these U.S. business opportunities mean to you? What is it, and what is it about the capital structure or the consumers? Could you elaborate on what these business opportunities are here in Florida as well as throughout the U.S.?
I think more in Ontario, it was more every man for himself. You had all these, after the program started succeeding, you'd have all these pop-up programs following and trying to take away from each other instead of building together. When I got here, what I found is there's a lot of people looking to invest in what you're doing. They like what you're doing. They want to join forces. They want to be a part of it. They want to see how we can help you succeed, how we can work together to grow. And it gives you opportunities that I didn't know were possible until I got here.
So Mike, you've been here 3 years. We've talked about the business. I'd like to dive a little bit into the E2 visa process. How did that go? Because most of our clients do a consular processing. They get the visa generally for 5 years, but you decided to do adjustment of status. Can you dive a little bit into the time frame and how that E2 visa process was, and kind of how you dealt with it with your family?
Yeah. So we had to get our E2 business sorted out within our 6 months allotment in the US. So that created a lot more pressure than, having unlimited time back home, set up what you need. So we got moving on it quickly, got everything in order, got our program started, and a lot of pressure to hire coaches, show revenue, and show you have something that can succeed here. So definitely took its toll. Lots of late nights, lots of work. At the same time, you're adjusting to a new life with your family and your kids here, trying to find their place in schools, programs, and their adjustments and what they're dealing with. So definitely a lot of pressure involved in those early times, but you got to be very open with each other, communicate, and really have a plan and stay focused and really push through to get to the what your goals are and make it successful.
After the initial E2 visa approval, was it easier to then focus on the business and family life?
Yeah, a lot easier when you know that the project's been accepted in the U.S. We've now put in our second request to see if our reapplication every 2 years, because of our change of status, it's not a 5-year, it's a 2-year, and our 2-year was approved as well. So it looks like we are on the right path, and now we can look to see what's next.
Yeah, it seems like you've now kind of set up the case for a good national interest waiver.
Exactly.
300 students, 8 employees, growing business plan, special needs children, all different types of children.
Become just a good, reliable program in the community where, they look to us for guidance. The coaches we have aren't just coaching the kids basketball, they're coaching them at life. And has turned into a really great family environment for everybody.
Mike, a common theme that we've had from our investor clients, whether they're coming from Canada, Australia, Europe, is they feel like they've kind of hit it in their local market and a cap, and whether it's because of the number of consumers, businesses available, the taxes, regulations, they've kind of hit a cap. How do you feel about that here in Florida? Is it limitless? Is it kind of the same as Canada?
It's a funny one. Well, you hear about it all the time, the American dream, the American dream, the American dream. And, as a Canadian, kind of just thought, what are they talking about? Like, I'm living my Canadian dream, I'm good. But then once getting here and establishing a business, establishing relationships, talking to people and understanding that there is so much more opportunity. There is so many people with different stories, different backgrounds that have come here for this opportunity, and they want to push together to help everyone succeed. No one's trying, there's times people are cutthroat, but this is not the time, not when you're building your business. Everyone's trying to help you succeed. Everyone wants you to do well, especially if you're providing them something that they needed, that they didn't know they need, but they needed.
I hear commonly kind of dividing the pie. You see that in New York, you see that in Toronto, rather than growing. And I do feel that in Florida, that people want to grow it and make it bigger, and who could be maybe a potential competitor, there's usually some strategic initiative that could benefit both your businesses.
We had to come right away. There was another basketball program starting up at the same time, and it could have been a competitor. Instead, we decided to work together, and we both fulfilled different needs with different opportunities, and we built together to kind of have a branded program where we can work together and each have our own thing at the same time.
Very cool. Are you happy with your decision moving here, investing in a franchise, starting a business for the E2 visa? What would you advise your fellow Canadians watching?
So, I mean, just like most of them, we were comfortable. Could have stayed that way for a very long time. Saw a path to retirement if that was needed, and a path to having kids grow up healthy, happy, doing whatever they wanted to. But there was limits. There was a cap on what we could do. Now being here, having these new opportunities, I see those caps that were put on us. And here there are no caps. There's just opportunities, and it's up to you how far you want to take your opportunity. If you want to live out your dream, live out your dream. If you want to just have one successful business and live a great family life, that's great too. You can do that here as well. There's something for everybody, and just keeps you kind of motivated.
And I could think one thing's for the parents to live in a structure where there's limitations, but another thing is to raise children in a environment where they're limited.
Especially in the school systems. Ratio back home was 1 to 30 for our kids. Here it's 1 to 16. Their school day is a little bit longer. There's a little bit more pressure on succeeding. They want to make sure everyone has a path to succeed, and they're going to put them in the right spot and push them to the right level.
So as a coach, you push, but you know how hard to push, and you know the player if you need to help out.
So everyone has that path. Everyone has to build confidence, whether it's sports, school, family life, and it's just really pushed on all three aspects here. They want to push you to be, family, sometimes a lot of religion, which is great too. And then if not family, it's your sports, you're at school at 7 a.m. practicing whatever you're working on, and after school you're practicing again, and then you're going home, you're doing your homework, but there's no time left in the day. At the end, you're ready for bed, ready to start the day over again.
Mike, anything you could think about maybe for that Canadian viewer that's on the fence, where it might be a couple where the husband wants to move or the wife wants to move, and anything that they should be thinking about that maybe would just push them ahead to make the move down here?
Yeah, sometimes, you just don't know what's going on when you're comfortable. Sometimes being uncomfortable is the best thing to happen to you. And it's hard to accept, change. One of the hardest things to do, you get very comfortable in your ways, but sometimes change is for the better, and it just takes getting out there and experiencing it.
Mike Berman, thanks so much for having me on and hosting me at your beautiful house and showing me your facility and the life you live here in Florida.
Thank you for coming. Appreciate it.
It was really gracious of Mike to welcome us into his life, not just of the business aspect and getting to know the franchise business that he's invested in amazing athletes, but also seeing how his family lives and really getting at why he made the decision to move to the United States. And a lot of our clients have comfortable lives, whether you're, living in Canada or maybe living that high life in Latin America, Europe, Asia. So it's not an easy decision where you have stability, where you are in a comfortable situation to change that and move to the United States, as there is some uncertainty with that move. At Visa Franchise, we founded our company 9 years ago with the intention of having a franchise as an easier way to move to the United States. And since we founded Visa Franchise, it's become a lot more than that. It's how can we help them with the schools? How can we help them with the housing? How can we help them with health insurance? All those different factors that come into having a smooth transition. This just cements it, talking to Mike, that we need to continue down that path of providing, the whole package to the client and making as easy a transition as possible, and not having the E2 visa process take months and months, but condensing that to 3 months, 4 months, even a shorter time frame for our clients that are already living here. Some of the things that I was surprised to find out about was just the disconnect in Canada between what you pay in and what you get. Hearing about how the school system has ratios of 30 kids to one teacher in instances, compared down here to in Southwest Florida, Naples, Florida, where there's one teacher for every 16 kids. This is also a public school. So just hearing about school, healthcare, you would think those are a lot of the reasons that people are moving to Canada, thriving in Canada. And maybe it was for the prior generations in Canada, but it seems like that social contract doesn't exist anymore in Canada. And I'm sure we'll get some hate from our Canadian viewers that aren't interested in moving to the United States. But I think it's a healthy exercise to reevaluate the social contract that you have with your country, to see if it's really worth it, as well as the community that you live in. And that was a thing that came up multiple times talking to Michael, where the community aspect of him and his family's life in the United States is fundamental, and it spills into all aspects of life, whether it's personal, religious, business. That community was something that seemed missing in Michael's life in Canada, although he didn't know it was missing. Reflecting on what he said in terms of just the uncapped nature of the United States compared to Ontario, whether it was, regulations or just a smaller market, the United States having pretty similar laws across all the states does make it a lot easier to expand your business, as well as interesting to hear kind of the vocational aspect, where the employee engagement, and he's noticed that more people working for him have a true vocation for coaching, where that has been lost, I've seen in some European countries, and even now hearing about Canada, where there's not that drive to do the best you can do in your chosen profession and in your chosen vacation. So a lot of insights. Some things, like the weather, I always heard the weather is nicer in Florida than Canada, and it makes sense to live down here. But there was a lot of other items that I was kind of surprised in our conversation, but I guess pleasantly surprised, as well as just that transition to getting the E2 visa to green card. I think to the extent that more families can really plan out getting the E2 visa and then finding out a way to get a green card, whether that is through the EB2 NIW, EB1A, EB1C, some other type of employment-based or family green card category, that can be a really good path, so that you can kind of secure your family's transition, not just initially to the United States, but over the next generation for your kids. At Visa Franchise, we're with you every step along the way, from the initial planning to move to the United States, selecting the right business, working with the best immigration attorney suited for your case to apply for the visa category that best fits your needs initially to move to the US in an economical, fast manner, as well as secure the green card in the US should that be your end goal. Thank you very much for watching us on location here in Naples, Florida. If you're curious to learn more about how we might be able to help you make this transition to the United States, don't hesitate to reach out to me personally at patrick@visafranchise.com or visit our website at visafranchise.com.